Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So here we are. Generational farming has begun. Field 41 is the field I'm starting with. So I'm on here and getting ready to go. We were released onto the server, I don't know, 10 minutes ago basically, so I have been waiting. I just wasn't sure when things were going to start. Was thinking it was going to be a little bit later, so happy to be on. Now, I think we're all set, but I'm not entirely sure because normally they need to give us FM rights to the server, but I was able to join my farm. I guess we'll see if I can actually purchase my field. Yeah, it does not look like we can do that yet, so I'm going to have to wait until they allow me in here. While I wait, I guess I can just share what my thoughts are at this point. So, one of the reasons I went ahead with this field, it's smaller, so I'm not looking for a ton of work. I understand that may mean the difference between actually being able to be competitive or not, but I don't realistically know that I'm going to be able to be competitive. You know, the other situation or the other consideration was looking at precision farming. This is actually a pretty good field as far as production or being productive. It's got a pretty positive yield potential, I think 119% or something. And more importantly, as I want to grow, nobody's really nearby, so that I can hopefully just kind of grab these fields around here and keep myself pretty consolidated from the working position. Now this field is going to be a little over 140,000 to purchase, given that we have 250,000 in funds. That's obviously going to deplete things quite a bit. The big decision I'm really going to have is what equipment am I going to buy and what equipment am I going to lease. I think leasing is going to make sense, at least for the first couple of years, maybe for everything, just to not dive into the funds too much. But this is part of the challenge, and then obviously the random events and so forth are another issue that we're going to have to potentially deal with as they come up. So obviously we can see, you know, there's stones in the fields, which is not great, but in a little field like this, you know, I'll certainly pick them up because they're going to damage things, but then, you know, I'll have to see what I do, because I think if I do a direct drill like I was before on Shellbrook, I'll be in good shape, but the challenge ends up being, you know, how expensive are those going to be, how big are they going to be, and given that these fields are pretty tiny, it just might not make a lot of sense. So the other thing to consider is there were a few mods made to the rules from the video that I went over in the beginning. So for those who haven't seen and don't understand what I'm doing here, I'm going to post a link to the preview video that I did a few days ago when the rules were posted. So that'll give you most of the information of how things are run here and what we're actually looking at doing. But in addition to that, we're able to do contracts if they're available on the map, and sadness upon sadness, no contracts are available, because that was my hope for making some extra cash, and I was really hoping on the first generation that we'd have that option. All right, so the other piece, and again, I can't do anything right now, but we are able to buy used equipment. Everything's a little too rich for my blood, or something I don't necessarily need. So my initial intent for a crop right now, and this is where I'm hoping having boatloads of data from nearly 50 years of working FSN is going to help me, because I was able to look at all that data and make some decisions in the last few days. And so I think actually sunflowers are my best option as far as the profit per acre that typically is available, and that is with precision farming and so forth. So that is what I'm going to put in as my first crop. So obviously that's going to determine the type of equipment I look at, but obviously until I can proceed, I'm kind of in a holding pattern. But in the interim, let's take a quick look at what everybody has or where everyone's going to be. So there are 5 of us that are on this particular server. So in total, there are 6 servers, 24 players. The first 2 servers have 5 farms on them. The next 2 have 4, and the last 2 have 3. There's a total of 24 players taking part in generational farming at this point. And again, it's 7 to 10 generations, so that means we're going to go through 7 to 10 maps, and it's 2 to 10 years per generation. Now I'm hoping we're not going to do a whole lot of 2-year or anywhere near that end generations, because that would just seem far too fast. I'm hoping things will be longer. But basically what that means is we're looking at a minimum of 14 game years, which would be 7 generations, 2 years each, up to a maximum of 100, which would be 10 generations, 10 years each. Keep in mind FSN's just a little over 100 years old at this point, so if we go that route, which would be excellent from my view, then we'll be talking about basically doubling the life of FSN, and that will be the generational farming cycle. And that would truly be a full test there to do that. Alright, I saw someone was trying to sync in, so I just wanted to make sure I didn't have someone popping in and pinging. Whoops, looks like he's running over. So, there you go. Hey Peter, everything's great. So, I'm on this field. We've got another FM on this field. I believe that's locked. I think the FM that's in here, Peter, that just showed up, he's taking this field up here, which in FSN servers normally has been where customs is, but they're letting this be, for the most part, a somewhat full base game map. Obviously the houses that were here and so forth are not present, so there are some modifications done to eliminate buildings and so forth. There's another FM that's going to go here, and then the last one goes here. So the nice thing is everybody's kind of got, some space around their fields here, 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 and here, where we can kind of stay out of each other's way maybe, but, still expand if we want to do that. So you can see we've got a couple other FMs on. Everybody's joined their farms. Again, though, we don't have FM rights on the server yet, so we can't really do anything, but everyone's kind of like me. We're just staring at our field, dreaming. Alright, so we've been given access, so I can go ahead and get my field. So this is now owned by me. So, yay, it's begun. So this is exciting. We've got a little bit of a challenge, however, in that we don't have precision farming activated yet. Been told that's coming. Alright, so I've been staring at my field for a long time, and I think I've made a decision of which way I'm going to go. So right now, without precision farming on the server, and the fact that I'm looking at leasing equipment, because otherwise it gets crazy expensive, and I can pretty much lease anything for 5 game years before it costs as much as if I had purchased it. I think certainly the first year it makes sense to go ahead and lease equipment until I start having some money come in. Now, I'm likely also going to go ahead, because I think I want that field, but again, without precision farming, now I can go look at another server, and I will do that, and I'll make that decision. But either way, I think just the proximity of it and so forth, and having access to a crop right away is going to be helpful in getting cash coming in, which then can make decisions about maybe purchasing some equipment a little easier, because, you know, ultimately I don't want to keep leasing things, I don't think. Based on that, like, I could rock pick, I could cultivate, I could seed, and I could fertilize all at once. But to do that, I need precision farming because of the fertilization point at the end. Otherwise, I'm fertilizing twice. For weeding, I'm still going to need a second day of the tractor, so I'm like renting a tractor twice, which is how we get to the 5 years. Otherwise, I could go 10 years without achieving the same cost. While I'd love to get going, it's just really hard to be patient. I'll be frank with that. The right financial decision is to not do this until precision farming is in place. So for now, I'm going to head off, and we'll be back when we're ready to get going. All right, I'm back on. Precision farming was enabled, and so I'm able to get going. Now the challenge is, I know, like, this field's pretty good. So if I go here, it's actually got a positive as well. So I know I was interested. Now that I can definitely verify that. So I'm going to go ahead and add on. Again, I have to hold both these fields at this point. It looks like someone else has bought a second field as well. So I'm not the first. But the nice thing is I'll be able to then use this canola right away. Now that field, the sorghum, I likely, if when I add that, that'll be the last one, because that's the worst field. Actually, is it that one? Yeah, it is that one. So this one, as you can see, expected yield, well, it says yield potential 100%, but it's not 100% overall with everything that's going on. Alright, so I'm going to get going on this field. The nice thing is the time has kind of floated some, or maybe it was always behind a little bit. It is not that early. It is early, but so that gives me more time here today if I need to do it, but I'm going to get moving along. I need a 100 horsepower tractor unless I've miscalculated things yesterday and I just don't want to take time to double check things, because I'm pretty sure I was correct. And anyway, let me go ahead and lease that, and then immediately I'm going to need to grab an Asaria Scout to get my fields. Alright, 867. So I'm going to lease things as I need them, because otherwise I'm just going to be incurring costs I don't need. I've never used these tractors. I know, I think they're the thinner format really to work with grapes and olives, but I mean, I assume they're tractors, so I hope I won't be disappointed by that. Alright. So now I just need to figure out how to get back to my field. Obviously we've got some traffic. So there you go. Now obviously I can't sample 40 right now. Although I wonder if I'm right at the edge, I wonder if that'll give me enough. It's just going to kind of suck to redo that. Wonder if I can do it along like the super edges of the field, because I may kind of flip this out a bit, and then maybe I just won't have like the center, but it'll give it to me enough. I don't know. Let's see. So if I lower this, alright, what if I, alright, that'll give me a little bit, but my concern is obviously it's probably not going to be exactly what I need, but I think I will. I mean, let me look, because yeah, narrow wheels only. These wouldn't count, I don't think. So I'd be killing my crop. That would be stupid. And course, this is almost as stupid because as I look at this, I'm going to have a lot in the center here that I'm not going to have, although maybe what I'll do is I'll hang on. Yeah, let me not waste time then. These fields aren't that big. Now the concern is obviously with the working with I'm going to be dealing with. Maybe this is going to take a lot longer than I'm thinking. I hope not, but I think I'm going to be surprised. But you know, I can harvest that field today, so I can go ahead and do that at some point, and as long as I'm still hanging on to this equipment, then I'll be able to obviously sample. But as you can see, you know, I just need 3 to get everything here across the field north-south. You know, not even. I mean, there's no reason not to go further, because eventually I think I'll purchase that field there. But right now, you know, again, I don't want all kinds of land, especially since, you know, we're required to keep whatever it is we buy. You know, my big question here is going to be, my target is try to avoid loans. You know, is this 22,000 going to get me there? Because frankly, I'm worried the harvester and such is going to be pretty substantial, but maybe it won't be as bad as I'm thinking. But it looks like we might, I guess it's really 4. I was going to say it might be 3 to get across this field too. That's... no, I think I'm good. I got to the corner. I like it. So, if you've ever played Au Baron, that's how I say it. I don't know if that's right. I had French in high school, so I'm going to pretend I know how to pronounce things. But if you've ever played this map in Farming Simulator, that location with the little help icons floating over it was the starting farm space, and where you had the house and other things. That goes with that field up above. Let me go down here, because what I think I'm going to do is, again, there's no point in doing things that aren't going to maximize the benefit and not cost me more than it needs to. So let's see if I do this, because then I can go up into field 40 a bit, and then I won't have to play those kind of games later on. So I know what I mean. I know I'm doing a horrendous job of explaining what my mouth is not saying clearly. So basically what I wanted to do was just do the circles as they go. So like now I'll, you know, I should be able to get this done, I think, in one piece, but then I'll also be able to go into 40 a bit. Now I gotta be careful here, because I should be able to go up quite a bit, and so then like my sampling of the other field is going to be minimal. So it looks like I could have almost gone along the edge and gotten the same result. But yeah, we're probably looking at 4 or 5 things there. So let me now send soil samples for analysis. And we're going to fold, and we're going to raise. Whoops. I don't want to roll into my field. For now, I think I'm going to put the Asaria over yonder. Yonder is a word I know that is used heavily in the French countryside. So I'm going to stick... Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to lower it because I have run into that before where you try to unhook this and then it's like, you must lower the unit. There we go. Alright. But, you know, again, the Asaria Scouts, as you can see, $800 to lease and cost $15,000 to buy, for example. So this is kind of why I'm thinking that what I'm doing is what I want to do here. I should be able to cultivate. Let me take a look at the map. This is not showing needs plowing, thank goodness. So I'm going to go ahead and then do what my plan was, which was use a cultivator to get the ground ready so that I can seed. Because yes, the direct seeder is insanely large. I always, when I played this map regularly, I would do the same thing. The store is up this way. You can see it up there next to, I guess, I didn't realize there was other equipment up there that some other farmer had bought and not collected. But, so because I'm not direct seeding, I'm not going to get the best environmental score on the field. But I'm going to, you know, start with this right now, and we'll take what we can. The environmental score is going to be important here because since we're selling everything in-game and customs isn't allowed on generational farming, that means that we are going to be able to take advantage of the bonus. Is that really somebody's just parked along the thing? That's interesting. That's a big tractor for here, but anyway, whatever folks want to do. I was a little tempted to look at the horse that's a little wider, but you can see the horsepower requirement is substantial, so I'll stick with this one. You can see money is just flying out of this thing being my bank account. Yeah, a little crazy, but so yeah, the thing that might catch me is, I mean, I should be able to go 24 hours with this equipment as I rented it. Alright, so I don't have to do anything else. I swear it looks like I've got cable, but that might be the cable from my tractor. Yeah. It's not telling me anything, so I'm gonna assume I'm okay here. Alright, so we'll get back around. Oh, speaking of, I just saw the now off. Let me make sure there's nothing I want. Oh, that's tempting. That's tempting too. Oh. But then I don't have a direct seeder and I can run it at 100. Let me see, because I think the thing I was going to do before I just quickly pull the trigger, it's not like anybody else is on here right now. Okay, that is the one I was going to use. So I'm glad I saw that. So I'm going to go ahead on the used equipment market, pick this up, because that now, you know, in 3 or 4 times would be what I would do, what I would pay to lease it, because I think it's like $1,200 to lease or something. All right. So we've got our seeder and our FERT unit ready. So the nice thing is, then I don't have to rent a spreader either, as if I had one that just had seed. Now, you know, the challenge is obviously a planter only plants. I'm going to have to figure out, and I may just, for simplicity, I'll probably just plant both these fields with the same crop to begin with, which Could be bad if we suddenly have some random event that takes out a same crop, but oh no, I did. I'm like, did I not do the GPS? But I did. Hoi. Panic averted. Because the reason I was panicking too is I had literally read someone commenting about how they had been fighting to turn on GPS and then realized they hadn't put GPS on their tractor, which I think I could go back and customize, but the problem is I think I'd be paying the full $15,000, which then would mean I wouldn't do it. Okay. Because I think with the harvester I might pass on that because it's going to be big enough I can drive it. The field's not that large. You know the drill. Alright, let me just make sure that I don't have... Alright, it's not showing me like... So maybe we don't have like create fields, because obviously I don't want to make the field any larger. Alright. So this should now, there we go. That's what I want to see. I want to see a state change on the field. So this will let me go, but you know, the reality is going to be, you know, I'm probably going to have 20 or 30 passes to get through here. So we'll see. I mean, we're on 0, as you can see. You know, and then I'm going to have the same thing over there because I'm going to want to cultivate. You know, I basically will harvest, turn around, and seed. So, so maybe what this is just making it harder to plan. Because what I'm trying to figure out is, because once again, this is the challenge of leasing. Like, in theory, I could do the other field later, but I want to, like when I stone pick and all that garbage, so that's the reason I'm doing this first, is I want to have any possibility of any stones that come up, that they'll be there, whatever the cultivator might dredge up, you know, because that's the challenge I have. I mean, it would be best if I could direct seed, because then I could just kind of ignore the stones, but you know, the challenge we're going to have with the stone picker too is it doesn't lay behind the equipment just like this does, and therefore running GPS with that kind of equipment when it's basically off to the side and angled is a problem. I suppose I could solve it. I'm going to have to really decide, because I don't know that I'm planning on stone picking a lot. I also need to figure out if I want to keep doing this or if I want to I was going to say, I have the GPS on, if I want to skip rows, because I'm thinking that might be a little bit quicker, because normally I think I skip like 3 and then I can just not have to keep reversing myself and so forth. But the reason I decided to go with it, because I think the GPS adds like 500 to the lease, but I think the extra speed I'm going to get is going to more than make up for that, you know, and just my own sanity, frankly, of not having the problem. Also trying to figure out if I want to like run any headlands, but this has a nice turning width. So let's see, if I do 3, which is what I normally do, I'm hesitating because once again the turning width on this seems to be pretty tight, but let me stick with the 3 plan, and that should make it work. So I'm going to go ahead at this point, because this is going to take a little bit of time, I'm going to go ahead and get this field done with cultivating, and then I'll be back. I was going to say I could do the stone picking as well, but I think I want to worry about that later, or at least show you that. Anyway, let me go. I can't even put thoughts together because I've got too much going through my head, and that's got to be pretty frustrating to watch too. So I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so I have finished plowing or cultivating the field. I've got the cultivator sitting there because I obviously got to do the next field. So I'm going to go ahead and get my harvest taken care of, because then I can just work on the field work together and do everything going forward. So I'm going to need a trailer, and I'm going to need a harvester and a... Well, hold on. You know what? I might... Probably going to need a trailer because I'm not seeing anything. So I've got canola. Let's see. Where can we sell canola? The grain elevator, Les Jardins, and Marasson. Let's see where Marasson is. Okay, Marasson's way up there. Let's see. The grain elevator. Goodness. Alright, so GHCB. The short answer is yes, I need a trailer. I was going to say I could just drive the harvester up there, but I think that's a bit too much. Alright, so we're going to lease this trailer for $586. And then I'm just going with the smallest harvester possible. Ooh, I knew that was going to be a bit of a hit. So there's the Rostel mash, 5 meters. That shouldn't be too bad. So there's no reason to push that any further. Alright, so as I figured, about 5,000. So let me turn this off, run over here, get ourselves harvesting. Now my only concern is my 100, that tractor parked by whoever, not very helpful. I get they tried to put it in the parking space and maybe come back and get it later, but it's kind of in the way. But it's alright, we'll figure it out. Alright, what is happening? There we go. Like, this is the same brand, so it better not give me any difficulty. And yes, this is small enough that I can go ahead and just run with it. So this has about a 4,000 liter capacity. I don't know what I'm going to get, but my bigger challenge is, am I going to be able to pull this cart with my little 100 horsepower tractor? And what I won't be able to pull it. I was going to say what I may end up doing is having to pull it with the harvester, but I don't think that's going to work. I mean, it's only 8,000 liters. It's not like I'm pulling 40,000 or 50,000 liters or something. So I'm hoping it'll be okay, but I just don't know. Alright. Let me go here, and then here. Alright, so I'm going to unfold. Alright, I don't want a straw swath, although I don't think canola does anything. Alright, so there's no unfolding the harvester on this, it just kind of does its thing. Alright, so there we go. So yes, did not go for the GPS because, again, it was already expensive enough. But the nice thing is now we'll be able to bring some money in. Looks like we're getting some green here, so the yield is good. You know what? Let me run another pass here. I don't think I have to worry about it up there because there's nothing to run into. Again, on the base map, there would be a building with a fence there, I think, right against the edge, so the fencing gets you going. But we should have... it won't be 1,000 at this point. But if I could... So, I mean, best case, if I could at least get myself to the point of where I purchase the fields, if I'm really being conservative, let's say I want to be at 30,000. I just don't know that that's even going to be possible, because that would require almost 60,000 liters off of this field, and it just seems like a lot. But you know, if I get 30, which might be possible, you know, that would give me $16,000. That would get me up into the mid-20s again, and that's after leasing everything and so forth. So that, you know, that's kind of the goal, is get myself going. You know, these trees are here. I didn't realize those were there. But again, I've played this map like right at the start of FS22. If you've ever looked at any of my Sim Academy tutorials on teaching you Farm Simulator, they're done here, where you would do your first farm on this location. But let me go ahead and hide that just so we've got a nicer view. But yeah, 30 maybe. It's probably going to be closer to 20. I always overestimate somehow. I always think, ooh, I'm going to get all this off. And, you know, even after I've started, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I've got 30 rows. Because, by the way, on the other end, I was estimating like, oh, I'm going to have to plow 30. There's 46 over there. So, you know, at 3 meters wide, it takes a little bit of time on that field. And so the planting is going to be the same. But the benefit is, if I do this, I get the sampling done. Like, I can now start to then return my equipment as I use it and not run the risk of any kind of additional charges that I'm going to get. So the thing that's always interesting is there's like a per day charge and a per hour charge on equipment. So I'm going to really need to pay attention, because it's not something I've normally looked at, because it's like, I got plenty of money, I don't need to worry about it. You know, on the normal FSN stuff, I can transfer it in from the website. So there's a per hour and a per day, but what I think that is like once you get beyond the first day, I think it'll start charging you hourly. You know, or will get you, like if you get to a day. But because you pay kind of that lump sum in the beginning, I think as long as I return it within 24 hours, like, there's no additional charges. But I'm going to need to be careful and really pay attention to make sure that's going to be the case. You know, and I'm almost tempted just to avoid any problems, because realistically my challenge is going to be, like, I couldn't even force dump the crop on the ground, because that would require me to then rent some piece of equipment to scoop it up. So, you know, what I want to do, I think, is just make sure I can haul it, because this isn't a flat map entirely. I mean, the nice thing with these fields is they are relatively flat, but I'm not going to have that benefit taking my material to market. You know, so my best case would be to take it to the one that gives me the most. Although once again, let's be honest, we're talking about, say, $70 per thousand, and right now we're, you know, coming up on 4,000, so we're talking about $280. But when I'm looking at $8,000 in the bank, $280 is 3% of my entire cash balance right now. I won't say it's my entire net worth. That's kind of what I was thinking of, but these fields have a worth, which is partially why I felt buying them is fine, because when we go to liquidate at the end of the generation and move to the second generation location, whatever that may be, the fields are going to sell for basically what I bought them for. So land retains its value well in Farming Simulator, where the other equipment does not. And that's part of my logic here in leasing, is I'm not paying maintenance and I'm not paying for fuel or anything for this equipment. So like those costs and maintenance certainly can add up pretty quickly. That can be thousands of dollars right away. And so especially like on a harvester like this, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we would end up with, you know, $400 or $500 of maintenance after this field. And so I'm not paying that. So even though I paid, you know, $3,000 something for leasing it, several hundred of that is cost that if I owned it, I would have been incurring anyway. So, you know, we're here, like once I'm done with this, I immediately return it, and my hope is the balance stays at 7966. Okay, we're not going to be anywhere near 20,000 liters, so let's take that off the table. Be lucky if we get 10. So, you know, but it's still money. I think it will pay for the lease, but that might be about it. So, just a little disappointing, but yeah, if we get 10,000, I think that's gonna be pushing it here. So, yeah, just, I'm gonna be curious how this all pans. Oh boy, I don't want to be doing that. Alright, I didn't lose much. Alright, goodness gracious. Alright. Not that I wasn't paying attention, but I kind of wasn't paying attention, I guess. I don't know what other excuse I'll put on it. You know, because the thing is, I mean, this trailer's bigger than this tractor, but again, I mean, it's not a... It's a 102 horsepower tractor. It's not as if I've got nothing going on here. Gotta be careful that I can actually connect. There we go. Alright, it clearly is looking like I should be able to... Okay, why is the key not working to hook up the hoses? I don't like this, because that's not going to work, and I won't be able to... I mean, I've got connectors there. Oh boy. So let's see, if I do this... Because, yeah, I'm not going to be able to tip anything if I can't get this connected. What is the dealio here? So what I was doing was, like, maybe if I come at it from the other side... Oh boy. Like, it's not even showing up in my help keys where detach is. But I don't understand. I mean, I really don't want to be renting a more expensive trailer or changing out my tractor. But at this point, I just don't know that I have an option. Like, why would this not connect? Alright, I'm remapping keys just to see if that helps. It does not. Because the only thing I can think of is for some reason, like, this tractor won't do this. But like I said, I mean, I think those are the connections. Alright, I'm gonna try something. Let me go over to my seeder, because I know that's gonna have attachments. So before I, like, totally go bonkers... So I've remapped the key to the H key, by the way, is what I've done. Alright, so that's there. Whoops. So, like, I can't do anything. So, see, to me, this indicates there's something broader going on. So there's something going on that I'm not understanding, clearly. Alright. So I can attach there. Alright, well the hose is attached once. Now I can't detach them, and I can't attach the PTO. Blimey! Okay, so the hoses will attach and detach, but, like, I literally haven't moved, and I'm having a problem again. So it is like a location thing. Oh my god. And like the PTO won't attach. Alright, so up here I can do it. That is so freaking weird. This is really frustrating. I assume I'm going to have no difficulty. Now, if I have difficulty here, this is going to be frustrating. Because now I'm just blowing money just to do things. But again, you can see I've got the same little blue-green connection points. But this is, you know, more of a typical tractor. So my hope is, you know, things are more appropriately. So yes, everything connects. Alright, so at this point, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to return, so 3886, I'm going to return the Landini. So yes, if I had rented this to begin with, I would have not had the same issue, but whatever. Because at this point, I've, in essence, just in this re-rental, the money I've made off the field has just been negated because the stupid hoses wouldn't connect on the Landini to the trailer. And maybe it's kind of set up because it is more of a specialty tractor that it has a limited amount of vehicles it'll realistically connect to. I don't know. But because it's not like I can plant grapes or something with that planter that I just connected it to, but even so, connecting it to that was obviously not the simplest thing. Alright, now the question still is, am I going to have any issue with all the weight of the canola? And again, it's 8,000 liters. So one would think it would be okay. You know, I'm gonna definitely try, because yeah, that's an uphill. So once I have this full with, you know, getting that empty, I'm gonna see how this goes. But it doesn't really appear to be. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. Alright. Just to be safe, because again, I have no margin for error now. Not that I ever really did. So Marisone is significantly more. So in theory, like, that's tagged. I can't... Oh, because it's that way. There it is. Okay. So let's see. How do I get there? So I'm here. So I can go here, here, and then I just go up. Do I have to, like, rent this goofy train to do that? But this is... No, that's rent train. I suppose I can drive up there. I just don't understand. Because it would seem like I can't... Because this is what? Oh, that's Marisone too. Yeah, it's almost like I think I would need to rent the train. And I think to do that, and I don't even know that we can. Yeah, rent train for 1,000 per hour. That's stupid. Because, yeah, that's not going to get me enough. So that's not a valid place. So the grain elevator is then where I want to go. So I want to tag that. All right, and that, yeah, is there. All right. So let's head this way. Because either way, like, I'm going to have to take a second trip up here anyway. So for now, I'm going to get this done. I know the next one will probably be full again, but then I'll just have a partial, and I can kind of fight with it. And then the other, more important thing is with a lower trailer load, I can now see if I have a problem on the way to my sell point as far as being able to haul it there and any kind of challenges climbing up. Because obviously that's higher country up north. I mean, you can see the trestle. Obviously, I assume like the abbey, the monastery, whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, we are going uphill, I would say, just to get to the town of Haut-Béarn. Yeah, and I'm going 25. So I think, yeah, I still want to go. Oh no, I want to, well, yeah, I can go up this way through town and then come back, because I think this might be worse. Trying to, well, maybe not. I don't know. We'll take the scenic route just because, I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to be climbing the same thing. It's just, you know, how bad is it going to be? So that got us to 22. I know if you run around, like, there's collectibles on that building, I think, but even if they still left them there, I think that would be frowned upon within generational farming to make some money off of that. It just feels like I'm slowing down, but looking at my speedometer, obviously I'm not. It's just, I can't go very fast with this tractor, and I'm also feeling like I want to be moving. So all in all, it's just a whole lot of fun stuff. But yeah, if I can get this done, you know, get the harvest done. Alright, now I'm going, ooh. See, this is the kind of the dangerous part. So we're down to 15, 14, we're still slowing down. And the question becomes, like, if I'm up at, you know, closer to 8,000 liters, would I not be able to make it up this hill? Because I don't know that I have anything in the lowland area. Because that's my alternative, is figuring out where the jardiniere is. And that may be closer, because it's only a difference of, I think, like $12 per 1,000. But there we go. So that gets us there. I just really would prefer not to take 3 trips if I don't. Whoa, let's not flip over. That's the last thing I need. Alright, so I believe that's here. I mean, it's not really telling me, but it has to be. So this should let me sell. It will. Eventually, maybe. Goodness gracious, I'm like, is it ever gonna dump? So there we go. Didn't even get back to what it costs to rent this tractor, let alone the other piece. So my grand plans and super excitement are kind of falling by the wayside. But it's a bit of what I figured. You know, I kind of have said, I think in the initial stages, this is certainly going to be a bit like a survival challenge. And it's going to be tough to kind of drag your way out. I mean, the good news is I have to keep in mind, like, I haven't taken a loan yet, even with having to spend $4,000 that I really shouldn't have. You know, and the thing was, I think it was like another $500 to $1,000 to rent this tractor over the Landini. But obviously, you know, I would have still netted. I would have, you know, been sitting probably closer to $10,000 now. So, never used the Landinis before, and I have a reason now not to use the Landinis again, I would say. But I'm trying to figure out, because I could go down that road, but I don't know that that helps. I don't know. I guess it would, because it would get me down near the shop, because I think I'm going to take this road anyway instead of going across the bridge like I did. Get myself back to the farm, because there's no reason not to, because at some point I'm going to have to make this drive anyway to bring the trailer back to my harvester that's sitting out. Oh, I see it there. I don't know if you see it, but kind of where the wheatish looking color, the beige, so now it should be more obvious, the big red and white things sitting out in the field. But I'm thinking I've got one full harvester and then a little bit more left on the field. So, you know, we'll see what that turns into in regards to cash, but once again, we've got 2 fields, which means we're going to have more crops available to us, because I'm going to be able to plant both of these with sunflowers. So let me pop over here. I'm like turning things off just because I'm used to that, because then it doesn't waste gas and so forth. But again, these are all rentals, and I mean, the one thing that's nice is now that I've returned the other item, like, I do realize, yeah, it didn't charge me more, because that was my concern. Is it like going to give me an hourly charge as well, which would be insane. I'm going to put this pipe away because I just don't want to get hung up on trees as I turn and so forth. Alright, so at this point I think we've been together a while. I'm going to finish up the field, and then when I'm ready to haul things for sale, I'll pop back in. So I'll see you in a bit. So I'm now coming up on the full amount. I'm going to just back off because I don't want to run any crop down. And so this is the other thing I've seen. We do have contracts. So I'm going to go ahead. This is going to help me make up some money. Now I'm going to lose 505 because I don't have equipment to fertilize. So I'm going to borrow items. And the nice thing with that is, you know, that will help make up a little bit of money. And that gives me the option to periodically to hopefully make a bit of cash. And that should help me stay above water and not take out a loan, because in the end I'm hoping that's still going to help me stay ahead of folks. Because I think what, you know, and the reality is, I mean, again, I don't know that I'm going to be terribly competitive in the series over time. So the fact that I'm posting these videos and I'm doing it somewhat in real time, like, anybody that's competing against me, anything I say is going to be like, ooh, this is how he's thinking, or I didn't think of that, or whatever. If people want to, you know, people will use it obviously to their benefit, but I think the mistake people are making, you know, and at this point I think it's enough of a mistake that at least in this first generation it's going to, like, have been done already. People are buying equipment, they're taking out loans and they're buying equipment, and, like, just like a used car or anything, like, you pay $30,000 for a new car. If you literally then turned around and tell the person, or the salesman in the dealer showroom, 5 seconds after you ink the deal and you own the car. You know what? I've changed my mind. I want to sell it. That car is now a used car. Like, it can no longer be sold new. And if you're super lucky, maybe you get $20,000 on that $30,000 car. So, Farming Simulator is no different, nor should it be, in that same situation where, let's say, if I had bought this harvester for $75,000, which again, I certainly could have taken out a loan and done that. That harvester's going to be worth like 40 immediately. And so if I can, and that just repeats itself for every piece of equipment. And, the challenge, however, does become that given enough time, eventually it makes sense to own. Like, normally in normal finance, I would tell people, it never pays to lease something that you truly want. Like, my feeling, and the math plays this out, leasing a car is a fool's errand. Like, you're just perpetually in a payment, and you own nothing at the end of it. Which is going to be no different than what I have here. I've spent $4,000, and now when I return this, as soon as I dump this into my trailer, I'm not getting any money back. Like, I'm done, and that $4,000 has come and gone through my hands. So at some point, but once again, I could rent this harvester 20 times before it would cost me the time to purchase it. I know I'm on this map for 10 years at most, so I should never need this harvester more than 10 times. This again is kind of where I'm in the situation of, like, I don't know that it makes sense to own equipment. It may not make sense to own equipment at any point in this process, in this generational farming scheme. And so what I'm hoping is that by the time folks realize that, I may have built up enough of a cushion that I'll have a good lead and whatever. That's my goal here of not taking out loans, because pretty much everyone has said, I'm going to take out a loan because, for example, the farmer who bought the $250,000 field, or field 28, which was like 240 to, something. It was almost the entire amount we got. They've got to do something for money to be able to do work. And I know that field had potatoes on it. We had been chatting kind of off camera at that point, where he's like, potatoes weren't in my plan. I mean, they're horrendous time suck for harvesting. Now again, these are small fields, so it might be worth it, but even this, as you saw, it took me an hour to harvest that tiny little field. And sure, I've been bouncing around doing a few other things, but they're immediately into loan territory. And to the best of my knowledge, the game doesn't charge you interest. It doesn't do anything like that. It's just you can borrow in increments of 5,000 and you can repay in increments of 5,000. So, it's in essence a zero interest loan. But the thing I'm trying to do differently, that I'm experimenting with here, is leasing versus buying, which on my regular farm, where I'm on there for as long as I want to be on there, and if I move maps, wow. So I literally have 1,000 extra liters, and I'm 2 miles an hour slower. So I mean, I think if I had 5,000, I'd make it, but I'd probably be going like 3 miles an hour up this hill. That is insane. Anyway, but I think I'm not quite there. There's still a bit of an incline, but I think that's the heaviest grade that we've gone through. I can't take equipment with me from map to map from generation to generation. Maybe that will change, because frankly, like, my opinion on that is it's generational farming. If I moved from one farm to another, I would likely not be liquidating. I say that with a bit of hesitation because, once again, if they move us from Haut-Baron to a map in the US, yes, I would not put all my farm equipment on ships and send them over. Like, I don't think you'd make money that way. It would be better to liquidate and move. But if we are staying, within places where it's like, yeah, I could just have it shipped, or, I could put it, rent a truck and haul it over. Sure, I might incur some penalty, but in the end, like, owning the equipment rather than paying $4,000 every time I need a tractor, it's easier on several fronts. I mean, at a minimum. All right, harvest income 31. Now, the other benefit we're going to get is, if I do things well with precision farming, we should be getting an environmental score bonus once my fields start improving. So that's also part of why I'm going to do things that may be a little more expensive when it's realistically possible. Again, the best thing I could do is direct drill, because it doesn't till the soil. But the cost of that and the equipment I would need for that, I think will negate any kind of bonus I would possibly get, because I'd need to go up to, I think it was $109,000 planter instead of the one that I ended up with that now I've purchased for $5,000. And yes, it was on sale, but even not on sale, it was $15,000. So, we're talking about something that is almost 7 times as expensive, which would likely lease for 7 times more than if I had leased that other piece of equipment. We're not going to make up that amount. Oh, well, I don't need, so let me do this because I'm done. Let me just make sure, but I'm done with the trailer is what should be happening here, because I'm not hauling anything else. All right. So then at least I have that out, because the last thing I want to do is end up having lease costs that I don't need. So yeah, we're going to run back down here near the shop. This will be a little quicker than going all the way around, and without it's an empty trailer, it would have been fine, but just kind of in the spirit of things, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get rid of that because I don't need it anymore. And there will be certain things, like, once again, I need a planter, and I think leasing the planter would have been close to 500. Like, so I am taking a bit of a chance that we're going to be here on the high end side, 7+ years on this map is kind of what my calculation is going into. And that again is where this makes it is a little bit unrealistic, in that obviously to some degree, like, while one could make an argument that we don't have full control over, our lives, whatever it is, like, something could happen, I could go bankrupt and decide, you know what, I need to get the heck out of France, I'm sick of it, and I'm gonna move. And so I move earlier than I plan. But, like, normally, why is this not, do I really have to be closer? Don't tell me I'm gonna have some weird problem with this. Alright. Ay, ay, ay. Like, if I suddenly start having issues with these things, I'm gonna scream. Alright. So let me get the soil sampling done, get this returned. So I'm gonna keep talking as I work, but my goal is, now I think, yeah, this is down, so I should be good. So I just need a few more soil samples here, and then I can return this lovely implement. Yeah, there's not really a great... Well... Alright, what I'm trying to do is, again, if I can get to the top of the field, but still get that little pigtail, it's going to be really, really close. Then at least I don't have to... So I think that will do it. Whoops. So let me take the sample, because there's usually a little extra area around that appears. So there you go. Because I think then I should be able to maybe get this done in 3. Nah, I don't think I will. Yeah, I'm still going to have to come back with the 1. Oy, oy, oy. I don't know. It's only like an extra $100, I think, or something for an extra soil sample. So I'm not gonna drive myself batty trying to figure that out entirely. But at this point, I do need to... Alright, so I'm trying to get coverage here as well. I think I've got too much down there. Boy, oh boy. This is really pushing it. So talk about inches in precision farming and soil sampling. Here's what we've got. But I've got some pretty solid edges there. And then I'm going to be able to come up here, just kind of center this. And I, in fact, did get the rest of this done with 3 soil samples. Or maybe it's 4. Either way, not much more efficient that I could do. So there we go. Soil samples sent off. You are now being returned. All right. So we're just kind of cleanly keeping up with things. But now going back to what I was talking about, so there we go, 600, so 150 per soil sample. So now we've got our fields looked at. So before I kind of keep disjointedly talking, let's see what we've got. So most of these fields are loam, which is what I liked about it. I've got a tiny bit of sandy loam, little corners of silty clay here and there. But again, you can see, so now I've got my full score of soil sampling. But I'm hitting 5 on tillage as opposed to 10. So like I'm going to lose 5 points on tillage no matter what I do. But my hope is I max everything else out. If I do that, I'm going to have a score in the 90s, in the low 90s. And the benefit there will be, and I may just take the 80s at this point to begin with, because I think the only way I get up there is I got to do something with the pH, and that would require a spreader right now. And so that may be maybe a next year thing. I'm not sure yet. But we can get an environmental bonus, and you can get up to 15%, which is no small potatoes. I mean, that would be on, what I just took care of with the canola. I would have gotten another $500-600 on top of the $5,000 that I got for the 10,000 liters or 11,000 liters that I sold. I'm confused here because did I leave? I didn't leave this. Oh, it's a different tractor. Like, I didn't leave the server. I don't understand, but I was in the Landini, so I got to reset my GPS here. That is not how wide this is, so I am a little confused. That is how wide this is. Alright. So I'm going to now cultivate, and we're going to do the same type of thing, where, let me make sure. Okay, we don't need plowing. Rolling gives us 3%. I don't roll. I think mulch could give us a little bit more, but again, I've never mulched. I'm usually fine. Like my economics, my models that I have figured out are all set at the point of not rolling and not mulching. So could I do better with it? Probably. Is it worth the time? My feeling on rolling, I haven't done mulching. I think mulching you can get up to 5%, so it's a little bit higher. I may have seen things that said 15, but that, if it's 5 to 15, you've got different, obviously, things to think about than if it's 3. On 3%, I'm not gonna worry about that kind of yield. So it's just not worth the effort, because it's a lot more than 3% extra time. I'll tell you that with certainty. So nobody's going to tell me I'm wrong there. But yeah, I'm going to get this taken care of. And so you can get the top score in direct seeding in your tillage. If you plow, you'll get 0, because you're basically really disrupting the soil. It's just a huge environmental impact, and things move on from that direction. Oh, let me return the harvester, because I don't need that again. I just do not want anything longer than I need it. But yeah, that avoids any possibility of me having to step away, which I'm going to have to do shortly, and suddenly incurring extra rental costs. But what I'm looking to do is try to drive that environmental score up, so that in the next harvest, which is when this should all work out, and that's why I'm going ahead and doing this, because what you're going to run into is, you can see I'm going to get an environmental score on each field. So this one, let's see. So my top number is better. I'm not sure why. I don't remember. Oh, that's the fertilization. So that would make sense, because obviously I've just harvested this field. I'm pretty sure the top number is the nitrogen. So what that would mean, obviously, is... now, hold on. Yeah, I'm good. Just trying to line this up. This is partially why I did the other field off camera, because, again, I'm going to be in this stuttering discussion, and I know that's less interesting to listen to. But if I can get into the 90s, I'm going to be over 10% in my environmental bonus score, and every little bit at this point is going to help. And so, my logic is leasing and not dealing with the depreciation, the repair, and so forth, because that's the offset I've got with leasing as well. I'm never going to have to repair equipment that I lease, because especially on these fields, I mean, it'd be one thing if we're on some 4x or 16x map, which they might put us on in late generations or something. If I've got that going on, and it takes me 3 days, and I'd have to rent equipment for that long to work a field, which would be crazy. I mean, it doesn't even take that long on Shellbrook, but I guess it does with the tractor. So, but saving that cost is not insubstantial either. And the point we're at right now, where $1 is a higher percentage of the total than $1 will be, say, in generation 10, versus generation 1, you know, the family wealth will be higher the further along I go. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, if I'm not making a profit each generation, well, then I'm probably like real farmers, but you know, where they're just breaking even at best, and they're doing it because they love it, and you know, it's the job they want to do. They don't want to go to an office. They don't want to start doing all that stuff, and they're willing to deal with the, hey, I'm not really making any generational wealth for my family. But, you know, some farmers are able to do it, but I think the vast majority struggle mightily, and, you know, I think that's what Farming Simulator tries to mimic on the hard economy a little bit, is those challenges. So, let's see. Yeah. So that's the issue right now, is I would think, and it's probably pretty easy to tell. So let me go here. Maybe. I don't know. I was going to say, I would think I'm the only one who has not taken a loan in this group. Now, the thing that I'm not entirely clear on, but I'm making the assumption that we're competing against all 24 people. We're not getting a prize per server. I mean, other than, yay, you won on your server, you know, just verbal accolades or whatever we might get. But, you know, the prizes they talked about, getting mugs or shirts or so forth, I assume those are the top 3 players out of the 24. So, you know, you got to be in the top 10% or something. You know, but that's the issue. If even in this location, like, I'm the only one that hasn't taken a loan, you know, the thing that can be a problem with is if if they're able to outproduce, which I think is ultimately what will happen anyway, but not necessarily because they took loans, just because they have more time. I mean, as it is, even these 2 fields are more than I was planning on having right now. I was planning on having 1. It was tough to pass up the canola. Now, my problem is, at the end here, I ended up really not making any money because of the snafu with the tractor. You know, I would have at least broken even on the rental of the harvester with the crop that I pulled out, but that got thrown to the wind with having to spend $4,000 to change out the tractor because I could not get the hoses to connect on the trailer. So, you know, I mean, one could make the argument, I mean, as I think about it, hindsight is 20/20, right? I suppose I could have spent a little bit of time and tried to determine, can I rent another trailer, and will that connect to the Landini, and would that have been maybe $1,200 instead of $4,000? But I could have also just as easily rented that trailer, it not connected to the Landini, and then kept doing that, you know, and ultimately, because the other problem was, it's a 100 horsepower tractor. I can't connect a 50,000 liter tractor, even though I'm only moving 4,000 liters in it. The gross weight of that machine is going to exceed my hauling capacity as it is. So, you know, there's a lot going on there. All right. So this is a smaller field. Like, if you had any doubt, it is. It only cost $80,000 to buy versus the other one costing $140,000, which is, once again, or might have cost $60,000, because again, I had $250,000. I didn't make any other money, so obviously I wouldn't have had $30,000 left. So yeah, maybe it was even cheaper than I thought. But either way, that clearly shows, you know, it's less. I mean, there's a little bit of fluctuation in land values, but not enough that it's going to impact you that way. So yeah, my goal here is finish this cultivating, get that returned, then I'm going to divert to get that contract done, because that should be fast. It's fertilization. I mean, that's the nice things with fertilization contracts is you're usually running 4 or 5 passes on a field and you're done. Now, once again, I know nothing about field 14. This is not a map I'm intimately familiar with. Maybe it'll be more, but either way, fertilizing contracts are one of the fastest contracts you can take. So when I saw that, it was really a no-brainer. Aside from the fact that I'm just excited we actually have contracts, because I was worried we didn't. But then I was realizing, we're running in real time, and it just might be that things take a while. So yeah, you can see here, baling would be hard. There's another one if I want to grab it later, and I may do that. I just need to be careful, because I need my crop in the ground today. This is my last planting day, so it would be penny wise and pound foolish, absolutely, to go nuts on contracts and then not get my own crop in the ground. Because at the dollar for dollar, that's certainly been proven out with financing as well. Even in the contract method of FSN, where we pay $5,000 an hour for someone working our farm, you get so much more from your crop for that off the field. That's how you can afford to pay the contractors. It's just way more profitable to work your own land than it is to work someone else's. So, but yeah, I'm gonna look at that, and it's nice to see that they're popping up, because my point was, real time, that's kind of what we're gonna run into, is things aren't gonna always show up quite as frequently as one would hope. And so when we started up, it just happened to be, all the farmers, it was the end of the day, it was later in the day or something, or later in the season, everybody had planted. Now we're into that cycle where they need to fertilize. Again, unless I'm just dying to do something, unlikely I'm going to take a baling contract. Those are tedious, and again, you saw that was only 3,000. Now, once again, it might be a small field. Who knows? A lot of that's going to just depend on the mood I'm in. But I'm going to finish cultivating this field, and real life may intrude in between as well. But then I'm going to come and get my contract done, and maybe we'll see if we get lucky and that $6,000 contract is still there, because I've certainly done stuff like that where I've made $10,000-$15,000 in an hour running contracts, because, like I said, you run this field 3 times if you have a good spreader that's doing 24 meters or something, 18 meters. 3 passes at 10 miles an hour, you're done with this field in 5 minutes. So you can make some good money that way. But I'll get this done, and I will see you in a bit. Alright, I am back. So let me return my cultivator. Yeah, things don't go on sale too often. So at this point, I'm going to leave this here. Alright, so I'm going to work on this contract now. Now the challenge, however, is also the fact that, you got to buy your own supplies. Fertilizer's not cheap, but fertilizer runs pretty well. So we'll see. There we go. I'm like, this better connect. It's their own equipment, for goodness sake. Alright, so if I recall, it's 1920 for pallets, 1820 for big bags. I think that is my cheapest option. There's nothing you can do there. Okay. Literally nothing between those. Let me just make sure there isn't something else I'm not aware of. There is not. I don't know. I don't know what helm is. I'm going to go with that just because why not? It's cool. So now we're filling up. So that will easily go in there. Now I should be able to, I don't know that I really need the weight. I should be able to, I guess I'll try this just to see, because that would be disappointing if I could not. Yeah, there you go. So I can empty it. So my plan is, like, if I need to, you know, obviously I can, and I have stuff left, which will be the plan at some point, like, I can keep my fertilizer. So let's see where field 14 is. All right, it's there. So the other contract that was available was this one. So I'm going to head in through town, because I think that's going to be the best way to do it. I don't know what the spreading width on this is. I do have everything connected, right? It just, wow, this seems to be going super slow. So you would think for something where they've provided me equipment that it wouldn't be this crazy, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to see how quick this goes, because I will say, like, I really should be stopping now to take care of some stuff I need to do, but it's nothing that's, like, got to be done this moment. It just has to be done in the next few hours. And so, like, if this really takes me what I'm figuring, which is going to be, you know, just a little bit of time, if that other contract is available, it's right up here. What I may do then, because I'll also get a good idea of how much fertilizer I'm going to use. But what I may do is take the other contract, leave the fertilizer up here, unload it, return, obviously, you know, finish this contract, get paid, which obviously means the equipment goes away, so I need to get the fertilizer out of it before that. And then, you know, run that. I always love that. It's like something's hanging. Oh, I know what's hanging. It's my stupid weight up front. I haven't lifted it. I don't normally play with weights. I don't have anything. I usually have large tractors. As if you've seen the Misty Hills series in FSN, you know, I'm dealing with a quad track and so forth. I don't even know that it can put a weight on it. Alright, I think that's field 14 over there. I've literally never been to this area of the map. So go figure. Alright, well, I assume he knows what they've given me, so... oh, nice thing is, cool. I didn't even realize, but it's got GPS, so I am absolutely going to take advantage of that. Because that will let me maximize things. Oh, well, this will take longer than I thought. It's not quite that efficient, but that's alright. Alright, so on this end we're good. But let's see. I want to go here. Now the other nice thing with contracts is you kind of get close and whoops, what is happening and why? You know, you kind of get, wait a minute, so hold on, whoops. So yeah, this width makes a lot more sense, because initially I'm like, wow, this is going to take a while, but I'm like, it just obviously doesn't have a lot of spread, but yeah, so it's going to be more than 3, but it might be 5. But no, the nice thing here is this way we can maximize things, but on contracts you also don't need to get 100% done. So you can see I'm already 7%. Like you'll have little bits of the field. You don't have to be perfect, but obviously it's going to be a little bit easier. But you can start to see what I'm talking about. You know, we were 7% done. We'd barely started the row. So it's really probably exactly what I said. We're running probably, oops, I need to turn that off so that I'm not wasting things. We'll watch the train go by later. There it is. enjoy the train. There you go. 30% done in a minute once I really started. So, you know, yeah, that other field is going to be big, but, you know, it's not going to be a problem. Now, the biggest problem I'm going to have here is, am I going to run out of fertilizer before I'm done? And that question is going to be probably answered. Well, there you go. I got 46%. I don't know why I didn't see that at the top. So maybe I'll make it if I'm careful. Wait, why did it say 46% when I was... Unless it just really jumped up that fast. But yeah, I'm past 50, and I'm finally at 50% of the fertilizer I bought. So I will be okay. Because that was my concern, is if I have to go back and get more fertilizer, that's not going to work as well. But we've got this done. This is an interesting, nice field. I mean, I'll give it that. So yeah, it wasn't really showing me there. Alright, 72. I don't know why periodically it pops up there, but it does. And then really, like, once it gets to 100, we're done. And that's kind of how contracts work, unless somehow we're told otherwise. You know, again, especially at this point where we're looking to maximize every dollar, which is what you're normally doing when you're working as a contractor. I'm certainly not going to be doing more than I need to be to qualify. So as soon as it comes up and tells me I'm done, I will be turning things off. It should be soon. There we go, finished. So, you know, that little bit we don't need. But here, I can do that, and then I can come back and pick that up, because I own it. So, I will collect here. And this is 3 times the size, so I'm going to need a good amount, but I am going to borrow these items. There's my fertilizer. This feels the same. That was sarcasm, in case you didn't realize, because I think it's literally the same equipment that I just had, that this farmer is then having me use on their field. Pick that up this time so that I'm not bouncing off the road like a fool. But yes, I'm gonna need, because that was like 3 acres, I think it was almost 4, but either way I need fertilizer for my fields, so I'm gonna buy 3,000 at this point. Now, I'm not quite sure that I made a whole lot, now that you think about it. 8,900. I don't know. I might have made 1,000. Alright, so I'm going to buy 3 bags. So, we'll do that. And then we'll fill ourselves up. But now, we'll see, we were at almost 9,000. But yeah, you can see the fertilizer cost is 5,400. So, maybe I didn't do fertilizer contracts on hard difficulty. Because I will say, I remember making a good amount of money. Well, part of it, though, was, now that I think about it, I don't know that I'll be able to, yeah, okay. I'm like, I'm not sure I can fill it up if I just back up to it. But I was able to use my own equipment, but I would have still had to buy the fertilizer, so I don't know. So if I really use 3,000, I mean, maybe the thing is, maybe I'm like way off here, and at this point, like I will come back here before I terminate this contract, because I am going to need to have my fertilizer available for myself, and I'm obviously not going to drive all the way up to these guys' fields to pick it up. So one way or the other, I'm driving. I'll just drive back to the shop. But yeah, because in theory I should be $8,500, because the other job was $2,500. But yeah, so this is supposed to be $6,300, and I made, I'm getting that. I think $1,200 is the equipment, so I should, $5,000, but then it's going to be minus the fertilizer. So if I use $4,000 of fertilizer, like, I'm literally going to make $1,000. So then I might be at like $9,900, and that might not be that good, but we'll see. Because that's the one issue with I think what most of us refer to them are supply contracts, where you're having to buy material. I went the other way. I'm like taking this as if I was dropping my crop off. I mean, this will get me there, but you can see it's blinking, but field 14 I think is down. Oh, this is like going to be terrible. Well, we're going to take a nice little drive through the countryside here. Check out the map a little bit more than I ever have, because there's not really a way. I mean, yeah, I need to be down there. Oh wait, can I go? No, I can't. That's just a parking lot, so never mind. So yeah, the town's down there, whatever. Like, we are up. Oh, we're up by the monastery or the abbey or whatever it is. Actually, the field's over there, so wasn't too bad. It's just a little bit of a roundabout way to get there. But I think I have like 130 liters left. Cut across here, and then I will go up to the field, get my fertilizer that I have left there, because that really is, $200 of fertilizer sitting out there, so it's not nothing. But the nice thing is, it's there. I can go get it. In theory, this shouldn't kill his crops because it's the same equipment. Now, hopefully it won't give me any weird problem because it's sitting on field I don't have access to or something, but no, it didn't. Alright, so actually I only had 127, but still, at 1,800, 1,000, it's like $1.80 per 1,000, so let's call it $200 of fertilizer. This is in a field with nothing on it, so we'll just drive over it. Where is 13? I know it's down here somewhere. I think it's still like connected. Oh, okay, yeah. Alright, so it's this grass field here. So same thing, I need to set my GPS. Whoops, I need to set my GPS, which requires the Alt key, not just the E key. Silly me. I need to set the width. But this is the field. Alright, I'm going to go down here because clearly there's buildings. And I will run over this way. So yeah, I think we can go. I probably should have been more gentle in trying. But yeah, I'm able to still go over the crops, so without any damage. So I am going to take advantage of that. Reset myself here. Move over a bit so that I really maximize myself. And we will start doing the job. So there we go. Yes, the It is restricted for contract work. That is what I'm doing. Alright, but again, a bigger field, a much bigger field, so we're only 5% done now as opposed to being 7 the moment I turned it on. But still, we're probably talking 7 or 8 passes, so it's really not that bad. There you go, we're already 10% complete. Which is kind of what I figured, is that we're going to have a bit of, we're going to have, say, 15% per row. Now, yeah, because these fields aren't sampled, we're not getting the benefit, even though we have precision farming, like it's just applying at some default rate. Which is to be expected on contract fields. I wouldn't have expected it to be any different, but obviously we could benefit from the fact later if that was somehow a different situation. But, you know, it's still 6 in the morning, so I figured, you know, hey, if I can make $10,000 from my neighbors, and granted, again, I'm paying costs to do some of the work. You know, they're taking some of the money back because I'm using their equipment and so forth, but yeah, if I can make $10,000 from my neighbors before the sun rises almost, why not, right? I don't know what happened there where I've got like 2 little bits. Obviously I had things on, I didn't hit the key again or anything. But yeah, we were already a quarter of the way done, but I think when we turned around. So yeah, we're really basically at 8 passes before we'll be complete. So definitely a hilly map, I will say that. So as I sit here and do this work, I guess, you know, one of the things I'm trying to figure out is how exactly I'm going to provide generational farming content on the channel. And certainly feel free to chime in down below if you've got a varying opinion. But to me, because of how this works, I'm almost thinking it's going to make sense as I do the work, as I get the videos together, just provide them on the channel. Not really per a schedule. It just depends what's happening, so that you can kind of keep up in real time with what's happening, because I think this is going to have a lot more compelling situation there than otherwise. Now again, if I start getting tons of content, because the reality is this may end up being a 2-hour video by the time I'm done with all the work that I have to do here in the beginning. Normally I would divide that up into several episodes, but I'm not going to do it with the first one. But if it's one of those things that you're like, hey, I'd rather, you know, have things shorter, spread out a little bit more, you know, maybe get on some kind of a schedule, because I would imagine I'm going to be in here nearly as often as I am on Misty Hills once that fires up again. I'm still waiting for the move to the Hobo's Hollow map there to really begin in earnest. But that's kind of my thought right now. It's just, you know, I know I've got probably, you know, I probably spent 4 hours on here already as far as what I've actually been on. I don't have that much video. I certainly am not sharing that much video because there were jobs I stepped away from. I don't keep recording in most cases unless I'm planning on doing a time lapse or something, which again, for this kind of series I usually don't. It's very much a real time, since the servers work in real time. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you think there should be a different way to do it, a different way to present it. I could also obviously just really cut out content and, you know, record very little. But I think, once again, I like to err on the side of, there are people on the channel that have commented they love hours and hours of content, and they'll sit and let it play and watch because it's just relaxing to them. to kind of just ride along and enjoy. But so I'd rather err on the side of more because I'm doing the work anyway and recording it and editing it. You know, I mean, there's not a lot of editing once I'm going. I just kind of have the segment. It runs and goes. It's just kind of cutting out the things that make no sense in the beginnings and the ends. But and then the computer's doing the rendering, not me, so it's really not a big thing. But anyway, let me know. I'm hoping I'll have 1,000 left, which would be nice because I think that'll be more than enough fertilizer for my fields. But you know, and that's where it gets a little more challenging to figure out the economics here. Because once again, I put in 5,000, like I was at 8,900. So when we turn this in, you know, we'll see. I'm hoping I'm at more than 8,900, but I may be less. But then I'm going to have potentially $1,800 of fertilizer that I'm going to have left. So I'm going to need to add that in. All right, so we're getting really close, 97% complete. There we go, finished. So yes, 1,048 liters. Nice. But yeah. So this, my dear fellow travelers along with me on generational farming, is now aligning with the plan that I had and had hoped was that I'd be able to, I'd be able to continue and supplement my income with contracts. Because the other thing is, you know, obviously this isn't a farm it's got a lot going on. I mean, right now, you know, I don't have cattle. I don't think I'm gonna, you know, add animals or anything. I mean, that would be insanely expensive. You know, all that other stuff. But, alright, I need to figure out where I'm going because I don't know where I am. Alright, so I go straight. And that will get me down to town. And then I can get over to the shop. Again, empty out my fertilizer. I'm going to have a little bit sitting back at the shop. So I'll just have to, maybe I'll empty my fertilizer on the field. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll do that because I got to get the tractor from the farm anyway. I mean, yes, I can hop around very quickly, but at this point I need to step away for a bit. So I am going to view this as a great time to do that, but I'm going to get myself back to the farm. I'm going to leave my fertilizer there because at the end I think the capacity on that unit is smaller. So I would have, you know, and this would be more than one pallet at this point that will be sitting there. Am I even going remotely in the right direction to get to my fields? Kind of. Alright. So you can tell I'm supremely not familiar with this map. Oh, I like that. They already have Farming Simulator Year 2 Season Pass available. Interesting. I didn't realize those ads were dynamic. Because I don't think, I mean, this is an in-game map, so I'm wondering if because it's in-game, if somehow they're able to make those changes. Who knew? Not me, clearly. But, you know, let's not fall in the river. That would be easy enough to do by not paying attention, but there we go. So, I'm going to go ahead and just pull in here, drop this off, and that will be it. So, let's see, we'll do that. There we go. And now we'll do the contract. So we are completed. So yeah, so actually, in theory, I'm $400 to the negative, but again, I have over $1,800. Let's call it $1,900, maybe even $2,000 Probably not. Probably closer to 1900. So I made like $1,000 doing that work. So it's going to take a little bit to make some money with contracts, but it's possible. So it's good to know. It's a good experiment. Now again, I think this one, we wouldn't have to buy any equipment, but again, look how much equipment you need to do. We have to mow the grass, ted it, bale it, and then take the bales and deliver them, and we're getting basically $3,000 to do that. That's a lot of work. Especially with this thing. I hate these mowers. Anyway, not going to take that contract, but I'm going to step away for a bit, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'll probably go bring my seeder and stuff back here, but I need to get the rocks picked. I probably wouldn't normally do that. I would probably just plant and be like, hey, whatever damage happens, because I'm leasing the equipment, so I kind of don't care. But since I did buy that thing on sale, I want to take care of it because the repair's going to be on me. So I want the rocks gone before I go ahead and do that. And again, I may dig up more rocks, so maybe I'll keep the rock picker. But if I don't dig up a lot of rocks, I'm going to rock pick when I need to. It's, again, a job I really don't enjoy. But I'll see you in a bit. I'm back in now to do my least favorite job, which is go ahead and pick up the stones. I'm hoping I'm not going to have to do this again, but given how much coverage of stones there is on this map to begin with, I think it'd be foolish not to do it. For my own sanity, I'm going to make a poor financial decision, and I think I'm going to go with this one because I think I'll be able to use the GPS more cleanly to get the work done. It is a little bit more than double the cost. It's about $1,300 or $1,275 to lease the cheapest one, but this has a bigger working with, and more importantly, it doesn't skew out to the side. So if you've ever tried to use the guided steering with those type of pieces of equipment, you'll understand what a challenge that is. Where I think this rock picker just lines up right behind me and I can just run. So I know this is going to be a losing proposition. There's no way I'm going to make up $2,600 in selling the rocks. I'll be lucky if I make a couple hundred. But like I said, the sanity of getting this done, I cannot remember where this store is. I constantly am going the wrong way. But the sanity of getting this done efficiently and quickly is going to be worth the $1,300 that this costs me. And hey, if I can make $1,300 off the field, I'll consider that a victory, because then I'll have covered my additional cost. And I also guarantee you I'll finish faster, for if no other reason, even if everything went perfectly, having a working width that is nearly 3 times, basically 2.5 times the size, means I'm going to spend 2.5 times less time picking the field. So as I said, from the sanity and so forth. And then I can go on to planting, get that done. And then I may look for some more contracts, or I may say, you know what, I've done plenty. I would love, well, I'm not going to make any money unless I do contracts, because I was going to say I would love to finish with at least a double-digit thousands in the 10,000 range, but I have to buy seeds still, other things, so I think my dream is pretty unlikely to happen. But I think we're going to get more stones off of here than one would imagine. So I'll have to try to remember to get that final corner pretty quickly. Before I end. I'm just again kind of focusing on trying to get things done here. Let's see, do I want to? I probably should just skip one, otherwise it's going to be too much of a turning radius problem otherwise. So this should work. Now this will be the real test, because what is happening? Did it turn off? No? Oh, I think I picked it up. I did pick it up when I was turning. Like, why is it not picking up stones? But let's see, 5, so we're probably at like 15 or less to get all the way across the field here. So, we'll see. I don't know. It'll be hard to tell if I really got everything. I mean, I'll be able to look at the map, I guess. But basically skipping every other will give me a good run through. But yes, this is way better than the alternative, because the problem is, with the one skewed off to the side, the GPS is obviously set on the working with, or the vehicle itself, so it'll center on the tractor. But I'm not able to then run that line, and so every time you turn, like when you turn around, it's kind of skewed to the other side, and so if I was to say run the line right next to the other, the rock picker is going to, in essence, be in the exact same place, because being jutted out to, say, the left, when I turn around, it's still going to be to the left, but it's going to be to the left going the opposite way, and then it's just basically almost going to mirror the track it was going down, and that's like assuming everything lines up perfectly, which it won't. So there's just a lot of reasons that those things are frustrating. I've tried using those inexpensive plows that do the same thing, and it's just that same type of issue. So this field also has less rock. So if we look at this, if you look at the stones, we've got yellow. Oh no, now they're orange. So I guess they've gotten up there. Because I was going to say they were yellow, but they're orange, I think, because I cultivated. So they were yellow after I had done, or maybe before I had done my harvest, because it's possible the harvest kick things up. Sometimes it does that as well. What I was going to say is if they're yellow, I'm probably getting less and I'll get more off that other field, but I don't know that that'll be the case. So I know there's a debris crusher. I'm pretty sure that's the only place we can sell stone. Stone's usually at the bottom. It is. We're going to get $50 a 1,000, so I'm not going to make 1,500 or 1,300. So my wish of breaking even on the cost difference isn't going to happen. But I didn't make the decision based on the fact that this was going to be a profitable adventure. It was just get this thing that I really, really do not like done and move on. So I'm going to get this done. There's nothing exciting to watch. Did I... Am I like... I'm picking it up, or maybe I'm automatically doing it because I'm just used to doing that when I turn around. Anyway, I'm going to just keep working on this, and once I'm done and heading to the debris crusher, that's when we'll connect again, so I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I'm taking my second trip, which is good, because that means we had quite a few stones, but we had about 1,900 liters the first time. We've got 1,600 here, so that gives us, what, 3,500? So, not bad. This thing will jackknife if going too quickly. So, there's a couple farmers here. There's one here. We passed another one. They both appear to be doing grass work, which makes sense. I think it's a simple thing to do to get going. I think in a lot of survival series, that is what a lot of folks do to make some money early on, but obviously you do need to invest in some equipment to be able to do that, because you need a mower and usually a windrower and then a baler at minimum. And if you're doing hay, you're going to need a tedder, other things like that. So and it has crossed my mind as a possibility, and it may be something I do at some point. I don't know. I think if I went in that route, I would need to, unfortunately, go into the loan territory that I'm saying I just don't think it works. But if any strategy is going to be better than what I'm trying to do, at this point, I think that would be it. Because part of the thing is grass will be ready to be mowed every 2 days. So you could, in essence, get 6 rotations a year. And it looks like, I don't know if it's this one. Yeah, you can see he's got 6 bales. Yeah, he's got 6 bales sitting there. So if he gets 6 bales off the field and does that 6 times a year, he's going to get 36 bales. And, let's say those grass bales are like 9,000 liters, and you're getting maybe $30 a liter. So you're talking $270. So let's say $250 just for easy math. So 36, you're going to get, 900? You're going to get $9,000 in a year. I got 5,000 in canola off the field. So I don't know. And again, I think the 2 fields I have now are about equal in size to that, because 28 is pretty large. That one was 230 or 40,000 to do. Let me return this because I'm done stone picking now, just to show you clear fields. So we got 1,600. Oh, okay, because that's what it cost us, I think, to lease that. I hope it didn't take more. Alright, so we're going to return that, and then at this point it'll just be faster to get back to the farm. So I'm going to go and actually not get back to the farm. I'm going to go to the store. So I'm going to head over there, and then I am going to pick up the cedar, and we're going to get our sunflowers planted. So I'll see you at the store. Alright, so I'm finally here to pick up my on sale planter. I try to be better at referring to things appropriately in my generational farming than I am in other things, because I would call these seeders, but they're not, they're planters. Alright, so I get 1,000 seeds for $9.50. 1,000 seeds for $800. Alright, so as always, the big bags are the way to go. So we will do that, and that's gonna make life interesting. Because I got nothing to carry it with. I'm gonna have to okay. Is it down in the ground? It is. So, because I've got fertilizer over at the farm. But I'm wondering, let me see, this is going to be a pain, but I might need to just kind of, let's see if I can push it to the farm. This is really the poor man's way of doing this, but hey, I can see the corner of my field from here, right? Because I was going to say, sometimes there's like a forklift or something existing at the shop, but because this is just a base map, not an FSN map, there's no FSN equipment on the map. So let's see. Well, it looks like it might let me. Just how crazy will it be? So I'm going to do this. Now, obviously, if I was doing this in real life, I think I would rip a hole in the bottom of the bag, but we'll just say it's a really, really strong bag, and I'm not going very far. Whoops. But, again, renting equipment to move the bag, not my thing. Whoa. I just looked at the, oh good. Now I just ran over the seed. It's even better. So now it's going to become interesting, because now I might not be able to push it now that it's laying on its side. No, I can. I just gonna need to be careful. Alright. I got closer. How about that? And it's not at the store. I know I'm gonna use some seed, but yeah, that's like Proseed or something, I think is what that mod is called. I didn't realize we had that in FSN, or maybe this has something to do with the seeder I bought. Well, I did buy. Never mind. Because that's the other thing. Like, I'll be able to have seed in here eventually. But we'll see what we need and what things will look like. But I'm not able to seed right now. So I'm gonna leave that there, and then I will come back in a bit. Alright, so I am in here now, starting to plant my sunflowers. I had another player asking me some questions, so I wanted to go ahead and get those answered for them, so I started a little bit early and wasn't recording quite at the start, just because I wanted to get them the info that they needed, along with some screenshots, which would have just been a messy type of thing. But starting here, so the 1,048 or whatever it was liters of fertilizer, I fully loaded. I did not get to 100% fertilizer. The seeds only take 200 liters, so I think you probably noticed that as I was pushing the seed down the road. It's still over there. I did also ask that person, because I think they're doing the same thing, at least for now, leasing equipment, and they just said they left stuff at the shop. My only concern is I don't know that it specifically says like who owns the bags, and so I don't want people like grabbing stuff like, ooh, there's free seed here. I mean, I would think they wouldn't, but still, it's just not worth the challenges. But yeah, the biggest piece here is obviously, I've got to keep turning on and off the seeder, because otherwise fertilizer continues to run out, as I'm sure you're probably fully aware. But you can see the nitrogen map down in the mini map starting to get filled out. Sunflower's not using a ton. I mean, it is using 95 kilograms per hectare, but once again, these are pretty tiny fields, so I don't think, I think they might be like 1.3 hectares or something, so not using a ton. So I don't anticipate running out of fertilizer, and I honestly probably don't know if I'm going to run out of seed. I mean, obviously I've used nearly 50 liters of seed at this point, just getting this far. But, it's kind of where I'm at. So I just want to get this planted, and then, as I said, I am as far as I can go. And I'm going to start kind of doing every third row as well, because this is just, it's taking too long to like reposition and whatever. So this will work fine, and it will plant. It doesn't really all need to be planted all at once. But as you can see, on sandy loam we don't require a lot. We've got the loam here, which requires a lot more. And keep in mind, this was a harvested field, although the nitrogen level down below looks similar, so I suppose it won't be any different. And then I hit some silty clay at the other end, so I'll let this pass through so you can see it. You can see the seed rate is low right now, which is also nice, but on the loam I think it increases to the highest level, but it's only 14 seeds per meter instead of 10, so sunflowers are not that aggressive of a consumer of seeds, and I think that's part of the reason planters are set up the way they are. I just don't think anything is a heavy consumer of seed that you can put in with a planter, hence the higher cost and so forth. But now you can see the variable seed rate is up to 14. You know, it might change in a bit, but right now it's higher. So the only thing that I might have an issue with is I am not using a crop sensor. I've seen various things with that. You know, I didn't include that on my leased item. That may be something I forego for a bit. You don't need that for the seeds. That just does it on its own. But it will impact my nitrogen score, I believe. I think if I don't have a sensor, I'm not going to be able to get the maximum score there, but we'll see how that all plays out the first time through, and I'll make choices accordingly. Because once again, at some point, an environmental score is high enough that it isn't needed to go any higher. Whoops. I must have turned it on by accident at some point, or turned it off, I don't know. Because otherwise I'm just dropping fertilizer out here at the edge. But there we go, it's planting again. So I'm going to go ahead and get both of these fields planted just to keep things simple. I'm keeping them all the same right now. I may change that in subsequent years. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of just doing what makes sense. And right now, that's what makes sense to me. So I'm going to do this. I will pop back in at the end just to kind of let you know what the results were as far as what I consumed, if I had to buy more fertilizer, if I had to buy more seeds. And, you know, you'll kind of see what the money situation is. But obviously right now, you know, we're at $1,900. We're definitely really tight. And I'm going to have to, well, I won't have to necessarily take a loan. We're allowed to go negative. We just can't be negative when we leave the server. So when I rent my harvester, I may go ahead and just obviously let that go in the negative and then pay it back as I sell my sunflowers. And we'll see how that all plays out. Or I may do enough contracts in between now and the growth time that I'll have enough cash, and that probably is ultimately, honestly, going to be my goal, because I don't want to do nothing on this server, and I still have to rent the equipment to do the see and spray technology and stuff. So you know, there will be another tractor rental and sprayer rental coming up in the near future. So I will see you in a bit. Bit of a challenge that I'm running into. As you can see, I'm pretty low on funds. I had another leasing thing hit at some point, and I don't know if the tractor then took something else. I think I had my last 200 in there. Obviously, I wasn't fully empty. So the seeds are almost empty, but you can see I'm out of fertilizer, which means I'm going to have to buy more, which means I'm going to go negative. The other thing is, I think the main part of the repair is the fact that I bought this used, the planter, and so I do need to take care of that because it's taking a little while. Alright, so yeah, it's just 288, but even that is going to get me into the negative. Oh, it won't let me. Alright. Because I thought they said they would let us, but maybe that's just if it like goes into the negative when it's like charging us things. So the good news is the tillage is going up. So I'm going to be at 10 on the tillage. So this is actually working out well. The nitrogen and pH won't change until harvest. So I'm not going to see those values And I'll have to see if I really want to do anything with that. And similarly with the weed control as we start running into this problem. But at this point, I'm going to need to borrow some money. So, best laid plans, but I can't continue. So I'm going to repair just that, because I don't need to repair the vehicle I'm borrowing. And then I need to purchase a big bag of fertilizer. Alright. And then I'm probably going to move that over. Although, well, no, this will actually go into my seeder fully. That's right. Because I had over 1,000 before and it took it all. So this will actually work out. I won't have anything laying here. So I'm going to go back. I've got basically one pass through the fields. I was kind of skipping 4 rows. So I'm kind of in the last of the 3rd set, and then I have to do the entire 4th set. So it shouldn't be too much longer, but I'll be back in a bit to kind of wrap things up, and we'll see where things are at. Alright, I am finishing up here. This is the last row. So, but I needed more fertilizer, as you saw, so I had to take out that loan. So, and by the time I'm done, I'm thinking I'm going to probably need another 10,000 because I'm going to need to rent the harvester and the trailer and tractor and so forth, and so that's going to cost a bit on the tail end there. A tractor really is something I'm keeping an eye out for on the used market, because that is something that's, I think, going to kill me on the leasing, because I'm even debating if I'm going to do any kind of weeding tomorrow based on what's been happening with the costs, because I know for sure with the See and Spray and so forth, like I'm never going to make up the leasing cost of the tractor and the equipment in whatever benefit I'm going to get from spraying for weeds. So like I said, it's definitely got me trying to figure out what makes sense here. So I will have to figure that out when I figure it out. This should fill up the seeds. There we go. So the seeds are gone. So at this point, at least, everything is self-contained. So I am going to go get myself parked near my field, and I am done for now. So thanks for tagging along. Again, I know this was a lot in the beginning, but obviously starting this up and getting going, there's a bit of work when you're starting up a brand new farm. So, you know, any comments people want to make, any input people have, always willing to take a listen, and certainly appreciate it if you'd subscribe if you haven't already, and like the videos so that they get shared out. I think this is a really unique concept, and I think a lot of people might be interested, and you know, even if they're not in FSN, they might want to take a look at joining, because it certainly brings some uniqueness to the farming simulator community. So keep all that in mind, and I appreciate your time. I'll see you next time.